Welcome back. The Foreign Office has confirmed 2 Spanish incursions into Gibraltar waters, the first by a Spanish customs vessel on Tuesday evening and another by a Spanish Navy vessel on Wednesday. On both occasions, the Royal Navy challenged the vessels, which then left British waters. The convent says the actions of these Spanish state vessels constitute a breach of the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea and will be the subject of protests to the Spanish government. The chairman of the Federation of Sea Anglers has launched a fierce attack against the leader of the opposition, accusing him of hypocrisy and attempting to score political points on the question of fishing with nets in Gibraltar waters. Mario Ramos says that ever since the announcement of the new marine regulations, Daniel Feetham has been criticising the government because he knows this is an issue of rumbling concern in the community. Mr. Ramos says these attacks are misplaced and questions why the GSD chooses to attack the government instead of the police and the MOD, who are responsible for enforcing the law. In response, Mr. Feetham says he has always been crystal clear that a future GSD government would not tolerate Spanish fishermen flouting new laws allowing regulated fishing with EU-compliant nets. Mr. Feetham has described the GFSA chairman as a long-term GSLP supporter and his statement as an astonishing defence of the government. The opposition leader says the idea that a government should just simply turn a blind eye to the lack of enforcement of laws is nonsensical. The GSD says it will continue to probe the contract awarded to a company headed by GSLP activists, which has failed to deliver its targets for advertising on buses. Parliament statistics show annual revenue has dropped from £65,000 a year to just £6,000, and the GSD says the government should have stuck with the people who had been doing it for years.
And that is for us a matter of significant political importance, because one needs to remember when I had this shadow responsibility 2 years ago and I asked a question of the Minister Costa at the time, as to why they had finished the contract with the previous contractor and appointed this new company called Big Publications Limited. He said that it was basically the one that was most attractive. They promised government revenue to the company and therefore to the taxpayer, because the bus company is owned by the Gibraltar taxpayer through the government, a figure in the region of £122,000, and he was keen to knuckle down on costs, as he put it. Well, clearly this company has failed to produce.
And Big Publications Limited responded to the GSD's criticism in a statement saying it's proud of its development of the bus company franchise. However, it says while it believes this franchise is a workable and viable model, Big Publications could not commercially manage it on the commission structure agreed with the bus company in 2012. It says it therefore gave notice in July, terminating its contract, having, it says, now established a solid and workable advertising platform. The company says it closed its retail activity in September and offered resources to the bus company so it could operate the franchise directly if it wished. Dennis Cardona of Big Publications Limited says the company is now auditing all its accounts to establish all monies due to the bus company. The president of the National Association of Schoolmasters and Union of Women Teachers has described Gibraltar's schools as cramped. During his visit, Jeff Branner saw 3 different schools. He says the cramped nature of the schools is not a criticism and is due to the rock's geography. Gabriela Peralta asked Mr. Branner about his visit to Gibraltar schools.
We've come over here mainly to learn about the experiences of Gibraltar teachers, to see how we can support them as they are. The Gibraltar Teachers Association is a member of the NASUWT. And so we have some resources which we can put at their disposal, not to tell them what they should be doing, but to support them in the agenda that they have.
And have you been visiting Gibraltar schools? What do you think about them?
Yes, I've seen 3 schools today, a first, middle and a high school. And one of the things that I've noticed is that the geography of Gibraltar has impacted quite severely on the provision of education. The schools are very cramped in a sense that there's not a lot of room for play, but that's not, that's not a criticism, that's an inevitability of the geography of the place. But clearly that impacts upon the learning experience of the children and the teaching experience that the teachers have. And that has to be factored into any discussions with the Education Department about raising standards. It's about how do we improve the facilities to the point where they can contribute towards the raising standards agenda.
As President, what are the main aims that you have, and how would they relate to Gibraltar?
Well, I think one of the things that I've seen over here is the unity of purpose in the educational service. And that's something which we have lost in England through the Academies programme, where we've set up lots of competing schools, all trying to do down the other. Whereas here, I think what we've seen is a community of schools working together to provide the best quality education for the children of Gibraltar. And that's something I would hope we can return to in the United Kingdom over the next decade or so.
How do you think your meeting will strengthen links between the Gibraltar branch and the Union in the UK?
Well, I think the fact is we now know the individuals concerned in a much better way, and listening to their concerns, understanding the geography of the place, stops us from suggesting things which are clearly inappropriate for Gibraltar. But our job mainly is to support our Gibraltar colleagues and enable them to deliver high quality education here in Gibraltar. I know they're doing their best, and there may be some things that we can suggest from our experiences of things to avoid and maybe things to do which can make things better, but it is about how do we improve the outcomes for the children, because that's what all teachers want.
And you've also visited the Department of Education. What did you think about it?
I have, yes. I visited the director yesterday morning, and we had an interesting discussion about the philosophy of education, really. And it's quite clear that we're very much singing from the same hymn sheet. What we want and what it's clear that the Gibraltar director wants is very much the same thing.
Also this week, a rockfall near both worlds resulted in the road being temporarily closed. The Heritage Trust's new chairman, Delilah Smith, says its main priority is to take Gibraltar forward by keeping community buildings in beneficial use. A new charity, Stay Clean, was launched to support and encourage recovering addicts. And school children were treated to educational demonstrations and workshops by the British Science Museum's outreach team. That's all for News Review. For more, you can head over to our website, gbc.gi/news, and find us on Twitter and Facebook as well. Thank you for watching, and good night.